Welcome to Weddings Unveiled, the podcast designed to help you build a productive, profitable wedding or event business. Here's your host, Angela Profit.
Hi, y'all. It's Angela Profit, your event and productivity therapist, coming to you from the heart of Music City in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Weddings Unveiled, professional tips and secrets on wedding planning and event design, where we take you behind the scenes of our past experiences in the event industry, what we have learned from them, and how they have made us stronger. This podcast will help you grow a productive and profitable business to launch you into success within the hospitality industry. Today, I'm joined by the best communications and event consultant in the business, Alison Burry.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for having me, Angela. I'm so excited to share some of our past experiences together. We've definitely been through some unique situations over the years. What are we discussing today?
Today, we're talking about managing expectations during a season. So, for example, if you have a client looking at a venue during spring and they have a winter wedding, managing their expectations of what that venue is going to look like during the season they get married.
Well, tell us the story. What happened this time?
So this time, this was a destination wedding for us, and the client had already hired the venue before we ever got involved, and it was a precious venue, but she saw it in the spring, and they were having a winter wedding. And so they had this cool concept where they wanted like campfires and those portable fireplaces and pits where you could do marshmallows and like just creating this like beautiful wintry outdoorsy type experience, but it was in the middle of winter. And so I didn't ask a lot of questions. Like we had heaters, we had a tent, and if the weather was okay, she wanted to get married outside on this beautiful hill. It was a beautiful property. And she kept talking about how the trees encompassed this perfect circle for them to get married. And it never really dawned on me like, oh, you saw it in the spring. This is winter. The trees are dead. And oh, by the way, there's nothing on the trees. So you don't see the hills and the forest. You see crappy barns that are on your neighbor's property, and their tractors and their trash and all that stuff. So when we showed up at the venue, and it wasn't that far, so we actually ended up driving a bunch of our stuff up there. And I got up there, and the bride was like, "This looks totally different." So this is at rehearsal at this point. She's like, oh my gosh, like the tree, there's nothing on the trees. Like this is completely bare. Like this is, she was upset. And so I thought to myself, well, really, I was like trying to figure out what to do in my head when the owners of the venue, they were so sweet. They felt awful. And, they're like, we have people do winter things. So we didn't think that you didn't take into account that there weren't going to be any leaves. And I think where she was from, they don't really experience all four seasons. And where this venue was, we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And we have all four seasons usually. And so they went to like Michael's and Hobby Lobby that night, which was not close to the venue. This venue was in the middle of nowhere, and bought all these fake/artificial flowers, white flowers, and brought it the morning of. And basically they were like, oh, we have a ladder and we have some fishing twine, and we just thought like y'all could get up there and like hang it and it'll look good from afar, but leave the price tags on them because we want to return them. And I'm just like at this point coming out of my skin. Which the venue owners did say that night after rehearsal, we'll take accountability for it. We'll fix it. We'll go cut some trees down, like Christmas looking trees that still had greenery on it. And they basically propped them up around the ceremony area to fill in with greenery. And then they went and bought more stuff at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So I did it. I was coming out of my skin, hanging it up. And I will say from afar, it did look very pretty, like an enchanted forest with white flowers in the middle of winter, which is so not reasonable. And again, it did look pretty. And so that was just one little issue. The next issue was that when the rental company dropped everything off the morning of, which they had set the tent up a day before, and they dropped things off the day before. And everything was just like laying underneath the tent. Like the tables weren't put up, the chairs weren't put up, even though I did a floor plan and sent it to the rental company. We managed the rental order. It never dawned on me to ask them because, again, this has never happened before. You do set it up and break it down, right? So we get up there and the tent and just stuff's everywhere. And so I call the lady and I'm like, so is your setup crew coming in the morning? And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, do you have guys coming to like set the floor plan? And she's like, oh no, we don't do that. You guys are in charge of setting it up and breaking it down. And all we do is deliver and pick up. And I mean, this was like the only rental company in this small little town. And they had nice stuff. I was floored. And so I looked at the girls. I think there was the three of us. And I'm like, well, it's 8:00 at night and it's freezing and we barely have any light in the tent, but we got to set this up. And the owners of the venue came out there and they actually helped. I think they felt bad. And then they start to tell me like the little town politics and how they're starting to purchase all their own stuff because the rental company won't set up and break down because of liability. And in my head, I'm just like, how do these things happen to me? And the girls are like hating me. And I mean, we have gloves on. I mean, we were freezing.
It was snowing out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was freezing cold. I mean, below zero in the negatives cold. And it was so, we weren't hating you. It wasn't Angela's fault. But it's just situations that, it was so, all of us were just so miserable and cold. And like we had all these Chiavari chairs and all those chairs come with chair covers on them just because they get chipped. And every single cover was on every single chair. There were like 200 covers we had to unstack and take off and move around. And we were under a tent, but we were outside in the grass and it was wet and muddy because it had been snowing before they put the tent up. And it was just, we were muddy and
it was
cold and it was really unfortunate, but we did it and it ended up pretty and they all had a good time, but it was definitely a learning experience. And all those, I'll never forget those flowers that we had to hang. I was the one that got volunteered to go up the 16-foot ladder because I'm the tallest. And further, I couldn't reach it. Like the string that we were hanging it on was higher up than what the ladder could reach. And so I'm on the top step of this ladder. I'm not kidding you. I was 15 feet in the air and we're on a hill and I'm outside in the grass. I've never been so scared in my life. I was holding on to that fishing line for dear life. It's going to hold me up if I fall. And it was just, it looked really pretty in the pictures and in the video. It turned out good. But in the moment we were all like, this is insane. So we definitely learned a lot. But Angela, what was your biggest takeaway from everything that happened?
I would say my biggest takeaway from that is if you are working with a different company outside of your regular team, again, just ask a lot of questions and don't assume that it's done one way, like what you're used to, that it's going to be done that way. And so now when we do destination weddings, I make sure that whoever's accountable for setting up, breaking down, taking out trash, and all that stuff, that everything is accounted for.
Great. Well, Angela, can you share with our listeners some of the different products and resources you have available to help wedding and event planners?
Absolutely. You can visit the blog on the website, and there's lots of great articles and resources available there, which it's angelaprofit.com. You can sign up for tips and resources and be part of our email list. We'll send you all kinds of juicy details. We do webinars and live events, so watch social media for more about that.
Awesome. Well, Angela, thank you so much for sharing your valuable advice with us today. I can't wait for next week to tell more of our incredible experiences together.
And thank you, Alison, so much for joining me. And thank you so much to our listeners for joining us today on Weddings Unveiled, professional tips and secrets on wedding planning and event design. Tune in next week to learn more from our past experiences. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it with other wedding and event professionals. Be sure to subscribe today so you never ever miss the juicy details of Weddings Unveiled. I'm so passionate about helping other event professionals, and with my background in psychology, I appreciate that our best selves develop from real life situations. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for more tips on how to grow your business. And if you have a question or an unresolved issue that you want guidance on, connect with us on angelaprofit.com. For more valuable resources, again, visit the website. And until next time, remember to stay productive and profitable.
You've been listening to Weddings Unveiled with Angela Profit. Join us next time for more insights to help you build a productive, profitable wedding or event business. For more great resources, head over to angelaprofit.com.